Water Commission, I'd like to open the Water Commissioners meeting on January 25th at 7:06 PM. On July 16th, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which among other things extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2023. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at the meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to the remote meetings. The act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings from July 15th, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. Roll call. This meeting is being taped and recorded on YouTube. Roll call of members. Todd Melanson, present.
Nathan Madela, present.
Could I have announcement? Dave, could you just announce yourself, and then Chaz, please?
Dave Vishon, Superintendent.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, the Selectman Liaison.
All right. Lou and Mike, could you just, for the record, introduce yourself, name yourselves, please?
Hi, Lou Sirocco with Ty and Bond.
Excuse me, Mike Schrader with Ty and Bond also.
Okay. I have no additions or deletions. Nate, did you get to look at the meeting minutes? Are you doing that now?
I'm halfway through it right now. Yeah, I didn't get a chance.
Okay.
Just one item so far for discussion on these meeting minutes.
Sure.
3.2. It says that he has also removed 54 homes from the Emery Road, South Row Road loop project that will save 10,000 per home. I don't remember that discussion. And didn't we? So how many customers are we connecting?
12.
I'm sorry?
12
12. Okay.
out of 66.
Okay. So we asked 66 people and 12 said
Well,
yes.
we asked all of them, and 12 responded. So
So it's not that they were removed. They just opted not to.
correct,
Okay.
but they were removed from the project because you had to include them in the project.
I understand. And so of what cost would we be incurring from like the norm if someone wasn't on a existing or near an existing main?
Well, it's on them. It's not on us.
Right. So
This
does
would have
that-
been included in the project for the SRF loan.
what part of that would have been included?
Dave, the full hookup, right? Or
Not the full
not the
hookup.
hookup, but the stub. This is
Right.
all about leaving a stub there.
Right, but it's a cost of $540,000 that,
If we had done everybody,
right.
that's what he
And,
means.
and if those people don't hook up, it's the people who are currently homeowners that have to pay this loan back.
So $10,000 per stub.
Correct.
Really?
Yep.
How much of that is parts?
A lot of it
Not a
is
lot, not a
engineering
lot.
because you got to go under the road.
That,
The
right.
main's on the other side.
Okay. All right.
That and there were like culverts from what I understood that they were worried about too.
Okay. Okay, I don't see anything else. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the meeting minutes from the Water Commissioners meeting of December 12th, 2022.
Second, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Motion passes. 6.1, I think I saw. Hold on. Scroll down.
1.6.
One, thank you.
Does that every time.
Every time. I'm sitting there looking at it and my brain says 1.6. My mouth says something completely different. So we have the EPA notification letter. So there's a program called UCMR. Basically, it is the unregulated contaminant monitoring rule. The whole idea is that there are thousands on thousands of contaminants that are not regulated. They take 30 every 3 to 5 years, or take 30 out of that group and do a testing nationally. And this says we are selected. Well, you're not really selected. If you're above a certain size, you're doing it. So we are doing it. And Dave, have you signed up for the CDX account and
Yeah,
everything?
February in 2024.
Okay, thank you. So
We
are
were
we just
testing it
doing,
once.
are we just doing it once? Yes. So based on the size of your system is whether you do it once or twice, and whether sometimes there's different compounds that others test that others, the bigger ones have to test, smaller ones don't. So, and this year it's what, 29 PFAS compounds and lithium, I believe, is
That's correct. That's correct.
yeah. So
that's
that's
Because
they're
of all the
looking
batteries
for.
that are being disposed.
Say again? Yeah, that's what they're
Yes.
going to be looking for. 29. I don't think it's additional. I think it's the Luke or Dave, correct me wrong, but I think it's all the PFAS we look for now plus 23 additional compounds. That right?
Which is the ones that they're coming out with at the end of this year.
Well, I didn't think they were going to regulate all of them. I thought,
They're regulating it as they're lumping groups of them together. Like all Gen X's are going to be
Okay.
lumped in, and you have to be under a number. So they
I
are
thought the
regulating all
federal
29.
was doing just what they were looking at was just doing PFOA and PFOS.
and Gen X and another one and another group. They're doing them as groups, but we'll find that out at the end of the year.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions on that? Nate?
No, not at this time.
So, I mean, the lab that we use now can, we use Eurofins, correct? For PFAS?
Right, but the EPA has their own lab. They're sending, yeah.
No, you're supposed to get a contract with a lab, dude. I
No,
believe.
they said they're going to send it out, and we're sending it back out to wherever they want us to send it out to.
For PFAS serving 10,000 of you, you will pay for the cost of your shipping. Okay, to an EPA designated laboratory. That means a lab that's on their list. So you still have to pick a lab.
Yeah, that's on how they wrote in the next email. They're going to send it, and we're going to send it back.
Okay,
They sent me another email
all
after
right.
I signed up.
Let's see. And then another part on 6.1 was a thank you for the work. I'm going to say this is the house that had the problem off of Greeley before
Yep.
Greeley Road.
Yep.
All right. So that's done. I will say that anyone involved in that did a really good job between Dave, Kevin, the guys, Gary Shepard, putting the main in and then paving the road. I've had nothing but good comments from Gary's farm stand. Everyone there, the water turnover, or turn on went without a hitch, and they appreciated all the work. So I thank you to everybody. And I think that ends the public correspondence of 1.6. Let's see. So we are now into 2.1. 2.1 asked to be moved to the February meeting. 2.2, Brian Erda, 14 Horseshoe Drive. If you could unmute yourself, turn your camera on if you can, and introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you, sir.
Welcome.
My name is Brian Erda. I live on 14 Horseshoe Drive, and I'm on the agenda tonight because I wanted to discuss my summer water bill. Basically, it was 4 times more than my traditional water bill. I do have a lawn with irrigation, and I recognize we had a drought and we had water restrictions, and we tried to be very sensitive to that and these circumstances. So I have 9 zones. I limited my zones to 10 minutes apiece every other day, to intend to keep my yard alive, not green. But my bill was like $2,800. So it was pretty shocking because it was kind of a surprise. In July, I noticed an isolated area in the yard that was like swampy. So me being ignorant, I didn't know what to do. I called my irrigation guy. There was a pipe that was broken. He repaired it on 8/2. I sent the invoice to Brenda as evidence, and I'm asking for some kind of relief from this bill I paid in full. So some kind of adjustment, and maybe some tips on what I can do in the future to limit that without killing my lawn.
So first thing I would say is, Dave, does he have one of the meters that he can get the app for?
He does now.
I do. Because Brenda suggested it, and a couple guys came over and installed one. So that was nice.
The other thing I would do is EPA has something called EPA Water Sense, and that will give you some really good recommendations on how to conserve water, especially on lawns. One thing they do have are soil moisture sensors you can get. But one thing I would say is check to see how much loam you have on your grass. If you're like the rest of us, it's probably an inch or 2. That's really not enough to maintain a lawn. The loam and the roots that grow in the loam are basically your sponge that's going to hold on to your water. And they recommend, 6 to 8 being optimal. But I've seen people get, you get 3 to 4 and you do a pretty good job. If you've only got 1 or 2 inches, it's really not going to matter how much water you put on it. It's just going to go straight through.
Yeah, that's all sand over there.
Yeah.
So I have a retort to that. In 1998, I did the right thing. I paid Gary Shepard, and at that time, almost $20,000 to put 6+ inches of loom in my yard. So I am not one of those.
Okay. Good enough.
Yeah.
So furthermore, moving forward, and in the early spring growth stages of your lawn, I would let it get quite long, like more, maybe. Because so the way this was explained to me, that the grass that you see above the ground is basically reciprocal of what the roots are doing in a healthy lawn. So letting that root structure grow and get deeper is going to help you through those droughts or the drier seasons or drier months.
Understood. The amount was irregular. It was I don't know what tier I'm in or whatever changes were made, but it was just kind of I paid the $2,800 bill right away, but I'm hoping to avoid that in the future, and I'm hoping for some relief. Maybe a credit or something, and I'll work with you guys on that. So
No, and so is it two separate quarters or one quarter that these are in, Dave?
Well, your policy is to relieve 1 quarter.
Right.
There's a one time. So I would say it's the 9-2.
All right. So if we drop, and his usage was 22.
224 units.
Yeah. So if we drop that all to the first tier, was
This
what
is a-
we've been doing, Brian, just so you know, to kind of help the shock or whatever. And if someone, like you said, like you've got a receipt that shows that you had a leak and it was fixed. What I would say is that we came up with a policy that we would drop the usage of that quarter or of that at that time frame all to the first tier.
I
It's
don't
a
know,
one-time-
just as a point of clarification, I
Yeah.
don't know that this is, we keep saying policy.
Yeah. All right.
This is something that we're doing because this is a new.
Yes,
The
you're
tiered
right.
rate system is newer and
Nope. And Nate is right in that.
If I may speak for just one moment, I have his usage in front of me. So for his July bill, he had 8,500 cubic feet. And for his September bill is 2,400. So I think that the September one would is much greater and would be much more relief for him.
thank you, Brenda.
No problem.
Let's see.
It would come out well over $1,000 in relief.
So we're dropping the 22,000.
The 224 units.
Yeah, 224 units. Dropping that to the first tier. Sorry about that. But that's after he had it fixed, though, correct?
He fixed it
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
August 2nd. So that was the usage 9.2 go. Well, that goes.
Most
So that's July, August, and the reading in September.
that's June,
All right,
July,
now-
and August.
All right, I'm good with. I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the usage of 224 units down to the first tier for account number 60207. Brian Erda, 14 Horseshoe Drive.
okay, I saw a different account number on a different page.
I'm going off our reading history. There's an account number and it's 60207.
Correct.
Okay, what account number? Why am I seeing an account number 60809 in here under 2.1, 2.2?
Oh yeah, you are.
No, wait, hold on. My mistake. Nope,
That's
nope. That's
Bayberry Hill.
That's 2.1. I don't know why my scroll wheel went second.
Motion. Listen, we all make mistakes, Nate. Motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Ethan Madela, aye.
Motion is made and passed. So work with Brenda on that. It'll probably go to a credit, so it'll come off your next bill. This is a one and done. It's kind of a responsibility you take on when you have an irrigation system. Keep an eye out for those leaks. Another thing that leaks a lot, Brian, is your backflow preventer. So keep an eye on that. Make sure that it's blown out correctly. Another thing that'll help you, well, it wouldn't help you this summer because we didn't have much of it, but if you don't, make sure you have a working rain sensor. One of the things, if it's an older one, it's probably made of cork and has cork washers in it. When they come up to set your system up in the spring, make sure they check that. And if the washers get moldy, they won't absorb any water, and so it won't go on and off. And all it needs is the new cork washers.
Okay.
Also toilets. Make sure your toilets aren't running.
And a
And-
good way, and Nate's good about bringing that up. A good way to check that, Brian, is for like food coloring. If you have more than one toilet, put one room off limits for 2 or 3 days. The longer you let it sit, the better. Put food coloring in the reservoir. If you don't use it and you go back in a few days later and there's coloring in the toilet, means the flapper's leaking. You necessarily won't hear it leaking. It'll leak irregularly, but you can lose as much as 300 gallons a day through those.
But
So that'd be another way to check.
I will tell you, the new meters will also tell you that.
So you should get notice on that on your app. All right?
Okay, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. I think the app will help for awareness.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we'll.
Well, I wish the irrigation companies would explain by adding this what it means to your usage, because a lot of times they don't, and it's fairly significant. It's usually 2 to almost 4 times as much as what you would use in the wintertime. All right,
Thank you, everybody.
you got it. So 2.3. Let me get to it. Hold on. That's still that.
Good luck pronouncing my name.
Nine
yeah.
Turnpike.
Yep, I am 9 Turnpike.
Did
All
I
right.
get it right?
Yeah. How do you say who said it?
Me,
Bra-
Graham Shadia.
Ram Shadia.
Oh, perfect. Yep.
There we go. Of 9 Turnpike Road. Take it away, sir.
Sure. In general, our water bill's under $150. And after we had a repair done for one of our toilets that had a leak in it, this most recent bill was down to $102, $103. We had a hunch that our toilet might be leaking. We had it fixed. And basically, after we had it fixed, we didn't know whether our bill would go up or not or by how much. And we got a bill for about $930, which I don't have budgeted for. We're budgeted for about 150 or less.
Yep.
So we did get it fixed. And I think it's been fine since then. What else would you want to know?
He
No.
has switched to a new meter.
What?
Sorry?
He has switched to a new meter.
Oh, did you switch to a new meter? Have you gotten the app?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I have been using it regularly, unfortunately.
No, I would don't get complacent on it, especially if we get to the summer times. All right, it meets it, and we are abating the one that is circled, Dave.
That is correct.
All right,
And he
so
has a receipt.
I see that you
For the
have a
plumber.
receipt from Mike Sedano, Plumbing and Heating. Tremendous plumber.
Very funny. Nice
So-
guy.
He's my stepfather.
Oh, cool.
All right, so I make a motion that we reduce the 65 units for account number 604809 Turnpike Road down to the first tier.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Motion's been made and passed. So you're just work with Brenda on what that abatement is, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Do you have a ballpark idea at this point, or
$591.81.
I like that?
What ballpark is that, Dave? The most
Uh,
accurate
wait,
My
ballpark?
ballpark. That's
So-
great. I appreciate it.
No, it's, the tiered rate system gets a little bit getting used to. The rate increase was significant just because, it had gone a long period of time. We'd had a couple of small ones, but if you don't keep up on it, and the bite that happens when you finally have to do it is fairly significant.
Now, if you go with the app and you're set up with it, do you
Yeah.
basically get notified by email, or whatever, when it senses you've got an increase?
Dave?
I will use Dunkin' Donuts on 26 Main Street. This weekend, they developed a leak in their toilet.
Yep.
They were using 220 gallons per hour.
Mm-hmm.
And we called them, this is the second time they called him. And they ended up changing the toilet out. But
But how does the app work? Does the app send him an email, Dave, or does it send it to you?
he can look at it and see he has a leak. And it'll show up as a star as a leak.
But he has to open the app and look at it, correct?
Correct.
So it doesn't send the
you
user
an
a
email.
notification.
You have to actually physically look at the app, sir.
But we give calls to people who are high.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Just one point of order. The 591.81 that was quoted is the amount that will be abated. Your actual bill will be 381.70. Okay, just a ballpark area.
Right, but that's what they were asking. He was asking how much he was being abated.
I think he
Not
was
really.
asking what his bill would be, so that's why I just want to clarify.
I was just trying to find out the general impact. I take it either way. It's fine.
No problem.
Good enough.
All right.
Well,
Perfect.
thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Appreciate
You
it.
guys
Thank
are more than welcome to stay for the rest of it too, if you want.
And we also need a third commissioner.
Yeah, we could use a third
Volunteer.
commissioner if anyone like to. So,
Thank you.
all right,
I'm going to drop off. Thank you, everybody.
not a problem.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. Back to the agenda. I am at, hold on. 3.1, review rate and budget. So the rate is up on the screen now. I think I'll turn this over to Lou Sirocco and Mike Schrader.
Thanks, Todd.
Read.
Are you sharing a screen, or would you like us to share a screen?
Well, if you,
Brenda,
Brenda, can
Just
you
get us on a
allow
short
them to,
leash.
can you allow them to share a screen, please?
Who's going to share?
Who's
Mike.
got it? Mike.
Mike, okay. Mike, I'm going to make you,
Oh,
listen.
she's got us on a very short leash here.
Yes, I know, I'm sorry. Hang on
You
just
can
a
mute
minute.
me at any
I'm
second.
going to make you a host so you can share because I'm not sure how to do the other part. So here you go.
All right.
You want, there you go. And then you can give it back to me later. Hang on a second. Let me just,
My goodness.
I was continuing to write, so I apologize.
Uh, One second. Let me find what I'm sharing here. Oops, not that. Okay. My screen sharing is paused. Did you pause that? Oh, wait, sorry about that. Technical difficulty here. So let me do that again. Share screen. Okay. Again, my name is Mike Schrader, and it's good to see everybody. I think maybe one change. I can't remember who was last time, but anyway, we're back here to do an update of the water rate study that we did previously. Probably the biggest change was that there was the discovery of the MBTE money. It was roughly $970,000 that was able to be, or will be able to be used to help offset the cost of rate increases. Basically, what we did is we went through, because it's also an update, we updated the the model for financials and expenses, looked through the CIP again, made some changes, project costs there, and then came up with a revised rate, or not rate structure, but a revised rates. So I'm going to actually skip around a little bit because the slideshow makes sense logically, but in terms of, what we want to talk about, I think it's kind of better to jump around. So one of the things that changed in the capital improvement plan was the water treatment plant cost, and the project cost went up, but partly because it included some water mains that were previously included as separate line items, and now they're all combined. And Lou, I before I had 14.9, and now we've added the 4.2 for the water mains. I don't remember if the project cost actually went, we combine them to add the water mains. And then the other thing is that we're currently assuming the 13.2 principal forgiveness, which may change, that may go up if depending on how they apply the principal forgiveness for PFAS. So we're as usual, we take a conservative approach, conservative being the optimum of optimistic. So we'd rather show less of a principal forgiveness and have that be, a pleasant surprise later. So Dave, I think there was some talk about that being 0% on the interest. Are you actually seeing my screen, by the way?
The interest
Okay.
is 0%.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, we're just
There is a management. I think they charge like 1.2 or 1.5% for a management fee.
correct.
So it's not complete zero, but it might as well be.
right.
So is that what your 4% or 0.4% means?
The 0.4 was to go to 30 years, and from 20. So 20 was 0, and my understanding was that for 30 it went up to 0.4.
Except for PFAS, you can go up to 30 years at 0.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that will.
We just met with SRF in Chelmsford.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what we were told.
Did they give you any more indication on the principal forgiveness? Dave, you actually described it better than I do. With
We're
the-
getting, right
the
now, I got a
Monty
letter
that-
from the EPA, besides the 13.2,
Yep.
that there's for PFAS, that it's going to be 20%. Then there's another one that's PFAS of towns under 25,000 who are in the disadvantaged communities, which we meet all of those, and it's 25%.
You're tier 2.
We're tier 2.
Okay.
So we are in the disadvantaged communities. So anywhere from 48 to 58% is what we're looking at. We just need a clarification when they give the final numbers. And it may not be for another year before they give us the final numbers.
Right. So we tend to go conservative, and then you can, as you've been doing, you can change this as it goes if we.
Yeah, it's like we accept year by year is what we decided to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good a good approach, because
Because you don't know what we didn't know what the revenue was going to be or look like or anything. So the whole idea was to do that first one and then go year by year.
Yep. I wasn't bold enough to be to do 50%, because I'd rather have you have another barrel of cash next to the MBTE money than so. Anyway, and Dave, in his usual, precise fashion, we went through this and updated some projects and costs and whatnot. And then here's I guess the good news is, previously we had been looking at impacts of, after the 20% that you did in 23, it was going to be 15, 12. And now with that influx of cash, which kind of looks funny here in FY23, I've assumed that will end in FY23. And that does a great service to your bottom line, to your funds. which then allows us to reduce the 24 rate increase to 5%. And then, as you see, we're going back up to 10, 12, 12 because, you know, barring that principal forgiveness change, you know, it's a fair amount of money that you have to fund either way. So that's what we're showing for 25, you change based on what Dave just said, if they do give you the 50% principal forgiveness. So then we did the same thing. This actually just shows the two gentlemen were back, but previously the increase in cost for this typical homeowner would have been, or their cost would have been $726 for FY24, and now it's only going to be $663, which is, you know, $63 a year, but it helps, right? Every bit helps. So
they'll see an increase. And this is the annual
yeah,
cost?
this is based on
So if you
yeah.
divide that by, what do we do? We're quarterly.
Quarter.
So if you divide that by 4,
About
They're-
$7.
yeah, so they'll see it's $7 a quarter increase if we do the 5%. And now the 5%, how do you break it up?
Across the board. You meaning to all
The different
elements
tiers.
of the structure. So, Todd, what we or Mr. Chairman, what I usually do is when you have a simple rate structure and you need to double the amount of revenue you get out of it, that's when the sort of the creaks and rattles come out of the woodwork and you see any inequity. And so the goal then is to look at the rate design and, you know, come up with a different rate structure, which is what we did. And then from there, you really, you know, are just increasing everything in proportion to your revenue needs because you've already.
But not every tier increases by 5%.
It
That
does,
5%
yeah.
is broken up by all the tiers, correct?
No, 5% gets applied to every part of the rate element. So did that work? Are you seeing this now? Are you seeing my monitor or the particular thing I was? Okay.
I see where you're moving around and
All
there's
right.
a bunch of numbers.
So this 5% goes to the base charge, to residential tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, to all of it. And because you're increasing your revenue needs, that's basically what you're doing. So it makes sense to chart, you know, once you've come up with the rate structure where you have a base charge and you have the tiers and all that, then it really just makes sense to just adjust it all as you need more revenue going forward once the debt starts to hit on the project. That's generally how we do it, is apply the same increase to all portions of it. And that is shown here. So as you need, you know, as your revenue needs increase, we're just multiplying that same percentage across each component of the rate structure.
Now the capital outlay in FY24, that, do you have what that's in the,
Yep. Sorry, it's a little jumpy. So the capital outlay in 24,
526? What is that, Dave?
That is pretty.
Is that the
There's a lot of
engineering?
things coming due this year. The water lines that you guys put in the last couple of years are now coming for payment.
Oh, Main Street?
Main Street,
Okay,
yeah, the engineering cost for the PFOS, that's all being increased, and you'll see that in the budget.
okay. I just want to make sure we wasn't including anything.
No, these are great questions. And if you don't, I hope I'm seasick, but this is what we're seeing is you're seeing that, that's the design cost from the,
So you're not, but you're not including the two ARPA, the two,
no, those actually, and I'm sorry, I am jumping around. We pull the ARPA out so it doesn't get counted,
okay,
you know,
all right.
which is great. You know, it's good use of that money.
Thank the town.
Yeah, yeah, well, you know,
A lot of well, I'm being serious. A lot of towns did not apply ARPA to their water projects, and this town actually did. The generators and the
I feel you.
preliminary engineering for the PFAS plant.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So, yeah.
Can
short
we
and sweet.
pick, the only part of it I kind of have that I'm not real, I don't know how Nate feels comfortable about applying, but the unit charge, the 5% increase to the tiers, that I understand. I mean, it's only $2 per to the unit charge. It just,
The base.
yeah,
You know, with all due respect, and I know you're in the business too, but I just look at it as once you get it straight in terms of, you know, where the money's, or how it's being broken down, and we looked at, the tier analysis and all that, then, you know, if you needed 10% more revenue to start paying the bills, then you just increase it by 10%. Otherwise, one, it gets a lot more complicated if you're applying different, you know, rate increase.
no, I know.
Charge, you know. It's a,
Where does this put us?
oh boy,
Um,
that's a good question. I know what you're asking. It put you less than you were before to be,
no, I know that much I knew.
so I'm looking at, this was the old one. I don't actually know that we compared to peers.
No, but that's not what I was on the affordability index. I need a better we do, or the department does need a better way to explain that. Because I'm a firm believer in the tiered system. It not only are we kind of required to because they score you on the SRF on it, but it does. We're finding out it to be a much more limited resource, drinking water, that being said. And I thought we went above and beyond trying to make it as least impactful on the community as possible between the larger businesses, the farms, the schools. But we need a better way to explain this because some of the higher users that, you know, the primarily the people that were irrigating their lawns, you know, they felt like they were subsidizing the people in the lower rates, and that's not actually. It's just I need a better. There needs to be a better explanation, and it wasn't coming to my head when we were talking to these people. But
do you mean like how the costs are distributed across users?
yeah,
That is always tricky. So looking at this is our previous version.
so we're still in the low burden, even if the way we're doing.
You're in.
So in
DPP,
FY
your poverty prevalence is, see, I have trouble with that one too. Percent, you're in the lower one, so you're going to be in low to moderate low.
Okay.
Your median household income is, you know, 725, which is not bad. Lowest quintile is 17,000, so that's not bad. I can't think of, you know,
So
the range
poverty
of
indicator, prevalence indicator is 18 18%.
Yep, that's the percentage of the community that is,
All right, so we're less, so we're looking, so you're at the less than 20%. In the burden in, so we want to stay in that. And you're saying the overall household burden is somewhere between, say 10 and somewhere less than 7%, correct?
correct. And so what happens is, what's interesting is if you get to here and you're over 35%, then the actual rates have, less to do with it, because you're starting out, even if, theoretically you didn't charge anything, you'd still be at a moderate to high burden just because of the poverty indicator, So, that's,
Okay,
Can I bring something up on this?
please.
sure.
Remember, we're only doing 2024. So for 2024, it
Yep.
stays in the low burden. When we do the forgiveness, if that because right now we're only at 6.1, which puts us under the 7%, which keeps us in low burden. If we keep the chart the way it is, you have the 12 to 15, eventually you get up, but with the forgiveness and things going down, we'll stay in the low burden.
Now I see a note in this that says the household burden indicator, and it includes $500 a year to represent septic system costs. Now that, I don't know where that number comes from, but
It's,
Like-
the indicator is designed to look at water, sewer, and stormwater. So just like when we look at the impacts, so you have to decide, well, are you going to adjust income or not? I didn't want to how do I say it? I didn't want to not allow for or accommodate the fact that there is going to be some cost if you're on a septic system. The $500 a year, at first I thought, well, maybe we could do like a depreciation cost for a septic system. You're gonna have to replace it in 30 years and and you've got pumping and service. Sort of came on $500 as being a reasonable approximation maybe for the all-in cost for a septic system. That's something, frankly, even the rubric talks about, or the methodology. So that was just something we put in there because, frankly, is that Mr. Matilla, our goal when we do these is that, we want it to be explainable. Where did you get that? Well, you have a septic system. There's not no cost. You have to have it pumped. You have to have it maintained. You have to have, it repaired. So, if anyone on a septic system had a different value or number, we could look at that as well. But I don't want to cheat the math,
yeah, right. I mean, so yeah, you explaining that and taking into account. So, I mean, if you said my septic system's going to last 30 years at 500, that's like 15 grand. And,
Yeah.
probably you pump it for like maybe half that, for like 250.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Annually.
If you look at the capitalization cost and the annual maintenance cost,
But I just don't know why is that? Why include it in these
Oh.
numbers here for water?
just because the household burden metric, if you will, they're actually, without going too far, in the original, that 2% of median household income that most people are familiar with, that was a outcome of the EPA's sewer separation program, where they were making communities separate their combined sewers, and people were coming out saying we can't afford this and blah blah blah. So they came out with this financial capability analysis methodology where you looked at a couple things. You looked at average residential costs by literally taking all of the residential bill cost and dividing that by the total. So you get the people using a ton of water and the people using a little bit of water. And then that was designed for basically for sewer. And then when this came along, it's designed to be for water and sewer and stormwater. So that's what we, if you had a sewer system in town, we would apply that as well. And when we don't, like I said, I don't like to, I don't want to misrepresent something. So we put in for an accommodation for that. That's just how the metric's designed. And stormwater, if you had a separate stormwater fee, you would include that as well.
So, Mike, this is just to help you compare against other systems that do have sewer.
Yeah, it's, it's like a cost of living thing. It's, if you, I don't know, if you own a house, you have a mortgage. If you don't have a house, you have rent. It's just trying to itemize those costs so that you're applying it fairly.
So it's not into how to set the rate, but it's to compare the impact community to community.
Yeah, and to be completely transparent, I think it probably means more to us or me because I look at it all the time, and it's an external metric that's coming out of nowhere, telling people that, oh, you can afford this, but it is the industry, one of the better indicators in the industry, and we use it just to give context. Typically, most communities want to see how do they compare against their neighbors, which is really difficult because, as you know, if you've not done any improvements and you've got a simple groundwater system, you can get away pretty cheap. But if you've been, regularly investing in your system like you guys have, and you've got a complicated or an expensive proposition here, your rates are going to be higher anyway, just because you're capitalizing those costs and you're, making repairs to your system. So looking at other communities, we can do that and we have data, but it's harder to find a good comparison because you have to find the similar system with, similar age of equipment and that kind of thing. But it gives you, some concept that it's not considered to be super expensive. And I think of it like if you had a gas station in the center of town that was selling gas for $1.50 a gallon, and you tell everybody, well, wow, everyone else is paying, what is it now, $4 a gallon. They say, well, we don't care. We like $1.50, go away. So it's kind of that concept. If you compare yourselves to a system that basically all they're doing is adding some chlorine and not really doing any system repairs, they're gonna have a really low rate because they're not funding as much.
No. Can you go back to the page that has the tiered rate system? So where it showed how much each tier increases?
Oh, that was in the
That's the chart that says 1.5, 2, and 2.5. It's on the right-hand side of one of the pages.
hang on, Dave. I was showing before was the actual
Yeah.
model itself. So
That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's right here. I just want to make
There
sure
it is.
it's open. So each one of these components goes up 5%, which is in proportion, so you think about the rate structure. I think about it vertically, these are how the costs are distributed. And then you apply that by the, either the quantities of usage or whatnot. But we generally don't change the relationship between the, change one, tier 1 versus tier 2 differently. We
No.
always can going forward. We can change, they're designed to be changed, but.
No, that's no, and I to be honest with you, I was doing the math. I was comparing like Groton. And Groton does seasonal charges. They also have fees for improvements. So like there's a manganese treatment plant fee and other things. It actually comes out more than what we're doing right now. It actually the cost is more by doing it through fees and stuff like that. And he actually has his regular rates, which I think he's got 3 tiers, And then on addition to that, in the summertime, he's got a seasonal rate, which is fairly significant. So, that gets added to it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you could consider,
I'm not
Okay.
considering doing that just because it actually came out to be more for almost every customer that we have than what we're paying by doing this.
so you guys actually have a fairly high summer to winter ratio, so that, that could be something to think about. We don't see a lot of drought rates or seasonal rates here in Massachusetts. And what you do see, and I can't speak to Groton and I'm not, commenting on it, but I've seen things where, they rate increases are difficult, right? Everybody's concerned about it. You raise the rates 1% and it's a rate hike in the paper. And so what people do sometimes is they say, well, we're afraid to raise the rates, so we'll add a capital charge. And it's $25, whatever it is. And it's sort of, it does the same thing. In this case, your rates, your base charge and your usage charges are paying for everything. So they're paying for the capitalization, they're paying for the debt, they're paying for operating costs and everything else. They're
Yeah,
not.
because I've seen like bond debt fees. So like when you
Yeah.
bond something out, you collect per unit a specific amount that goes into an account, and then
Yep.
like twice a year you pay the bond out of it.
Well,
Where-
and that, yeah, I think of that as, people look and say, well, that part of the, fee goes to this. And I think of like the bucket of quarters. It's like, well, these quarters go over here and these quarters go over here. If you were like a regulated utility and did cost of service and had cost-based accounting instead of, basically
like if we were US Filter and we were serving Lynn, like they used, I think they still do. Your rates come out because they're set, and you're not allowed to do stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
Moreover, in a regulated utility or sometimes even districts, they'll have, instead of just having like, as a municipality, you have labor and expenses and O&M and capital. They'll have like the cost of distribution, the cost of treatment, the cost of source, and mowing the grass at the reservoir. And then you can look at the peaking factors for different customer types, and you can break down the structure to say, okay, this component of the rate structure is designed to fund that. This is designed to fund that sort of thing. With municipalities, like I said, they do just like, what do they call it? Just like account-based, where it's general categories of expenses and it's not distributed to the different parts of the system. So the simple way to say it is that everything goes to everything. So what we're looking at is, you get a certain percentage of revenue from usage and a certain percent from the base charges, but they combine, they pay for everything. They're paying for your debt, they're paying operating and all that stuff. So,
Mike, did the usage number from the past year show anything that the increases were sufficient or insufficient or what have you? Or
that is a good question.
because I know the usage were fairly significant. To be honest with you too, I don't think we've seen the end of these cycles where you're going to have moments of heavy precipitation, then extended periods of dry weather. The state still has the Northeast region in drought level 1.
Right. Right. And I did, the gentleman with the sprinkler system, I know that when I moved to my house, it had a sprinkler system, and we have a May through October outdoor water use restriction. So I have no idea why they put it in, but honestly, it was set up to do whatever it does. And, I didn't have a feel for how much that was, in terms of going out in your yard and putting a rain gauge to see how much water you're putting down for that 10-minute cycle or whatnot. So, in terms of your actual usage, Dave, I don't know that we We used the revenues for 22.
Do you have the model, Mike, that would show?
I don't have the actual 22 usage in. We were still basing it off the projected.
No, I know. Last time you showed what, like when we were presenting to the selectmen, you called up a user and you showed how much the increase would mean to that individual person.
Oh,
Do you remember?
Boy, I don't. We usually do, for you, we did the top 10 accounts, and then we also did, we do like your typical residential account.
Okay.
And I think we had that right here. Sorry for all the jumping around, but this is what we looked at, was that different types of users in your non-residential top 10 to see, what did that look like, and what was the ratio between their summer to winter use, which is really interesting too, because you'll see a lot of houses will have a higher summer to winter as opposed to apartments, so they must not do a lot of irrigation in the common areas. So, I mean, we can do that, but yeah, right
No,
now
that's all right.
I think part of it is
So your recommendation through this model is that we do a 5% increase this
Yes.
year for next year.
correct.
That goes into effect January. When does it go into effect? July 1st?
March 1st,
March 1st.
because it's March, April, May for July 1st.
Dave, if you send me your usage for 22, we can see what that looks like. We looked at the revenue, which is a good indicator as well.
Like, we didn't end up with a surplus, correct? Or, well, we were supposed to end up with a certain amount of free cash, but
Right. We were waiting for the final revenue and expenses for 22 at the time. And we went with an assumption of a zero fund balance, a conservative assumption for that. And then, with the MBTA, even the MBTE influx.
yeah, because we don't have now. I mean, your original rate study projected us needing to rebuild our emergency fund because we had pretty much emptied it.
Correct.
And that $970,000 does that immediately.
Right. That was, I would have actually liked to be there, would see the look on Dave's face when someone told him about that. That was a pretty,
Well, you should have seen my face when he told me.
it's like looking in a pair of pants you haven't worn and finding $100. Let me just
No,
see.
not even close.
Well,
It's like finding the winning ticket to Powerball.
yeah. Well, that's right. It hasn't been claimed yet.
I mean, you're talking almost, now that fund is exactly where it's supposed to be. And we're not building it up over however many years.
So let me
Is
just,
there going to be, technically you're never supposed to be flat. You're always supposed to raise 2-3% every year so that you
Yep.
don't end up one year doing a 10 to 20% rate increase, or in our cases, a 25%.
it looks like since we did the update that you posted your 22 numbers for 23 and it was about 80,000 in retained earnings. So that 80,000 would go right here and make this one now, 1, 2, 3, 15 or whatever. So it's good. And again,
Right.
we weren't sure, and we just went conservative because here we go. It's 80,000 better than we thought.
So going forward, if we do this, right? And then we find out about the forgiveness, and it is what we expect. Can we expect to go back to normal annual increases, or being able to give a rest to the residents? Because to be honest with you, a lot of people, and I would say the ones that were in tier 2 and tier 3, they felt the 25%. I think
Oh, yeah.
everybody did. Everybody did. There are people in town that have 4 or 5 kids, and they can conserve all the water they want, and they're still going to end up in tier 3. So
there's
at some
two-
point, the residents themselves, the water takers, are going to need, the double digit. I'm hoping with your conservative estimate, when we get that finalized, no, that goes back to some sort of normal annual rate increase instead of the double digit one.
You see that black area?
Yeah.
That a lot of that will go away.
So if I change to 50% to your principal forgiveness, and let's just see.
And I remind you that when the lawsuit finally settles, that will also change it.
Yeah, we can't.
You can't count on it when
That's not.
maybe
That's
5
not.
years from
Yeah,
now.
it's something that's there. It'll come about.
Right. Like the MBTE money.
Right, but that took over a decade to get. I think this will
Correct.
be quicker, but I don't think it's something we can really mention in the near term.
Right. You just have to mention
still-
that eventually.
this- So the trial case opened the beginning of January, and we're at the end of January, and they're still hearing opening statements or arguments. So take that for what it's worth.
I mean, you're still looking to increase, your revenue a fair amount.
No, because I understand the operating costs are going to go up because we're adding treatment. I understand that. This is a small rural community, and that medium income is sometimes that's a 2-family income, and you're asking them to take on, or the area is asking them to take on, 25% increases in their electricity and natural gas. And, I'm okay with like single digit ones, the double digit ones. I don't know how you sustain that in a community like ours, to be quite honest.
That's why we only want to do 1 year and concentrate.
Yeah,
on
no,
1 year.
and that's why I agreed to that, and that's why I think that's the way it should be done. But I'm hoping to start to see that come way down. Just because I don't think, so I understand the 5%, and then we'll know better going forward once we get the final. Dave, would we have that final number on the principal forgiveness in 24? Will that number come in 24?
Possibly. It could happen in April.
No, I know. I know they're being pushed on it. I really know they are, because everyone's budgeting is dependent upon it. So
All they did is the EPA sent me the letter showing.
now, is that Dave? That's okay. Never mind. That's a question for another day.
Let's just worry about the 5%. Now, I will say for the tiers, the way the tiers are set up, that if we just do 5% across the board, it will actually, the tiers 3 and 4, the way it's set up is 1, tier 1 is 1, tier 2 is 1.5, tier 3 is 2, tier 4 is 2.5 times. But if you do 5%, it will kind of bring those across the board. It'll bring those tiers closer together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the smaller number catches up to the bigger number.
Correct. So it's no longer 2.5, it's like 2.4. So it's bringing those numbers closer together. So it's across the board and even in equitable instead of
Well, I said I'd do what's right and to keep us financially stable and to be able to finally take care of this system. You got anything left to present to us, Lou or Mike?
No.
Well, Nate, you got any questions?
I would have liked to see. There's so many ways to show data, and I think this is one of those cases where I really wouldn't know what I wanted. But you have operating cost. I'm trying to run the math on this bar graph here on your screen,
Mhm.
and it's just very difficult for me to see without like a scaling ruler and a maybe like a bolder line to run this math. And this is a crap ton of numbers to be just thrown at and
There is.
look at
There's
right now.
There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of assumptions as well.
Yeah. And I don't want to see, I mean, if we increase 5%, great, cool. And then 10%, 12%, 12%. And then I think I saw fiscal year 29, it was 0. And fiscal year 30, it was 0.
Yeah, you know what though? Don't, I'm hesitant to go past your capital planning. You know what I mean? Because then you're going to find out there's more stuff that needs to be fixed. So the further you get away from today, the less certain it gets.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff we included in this, Nate, is actually cleaning the wells on a rotating cycle that wasn't there before. And just, doing some of the stuff that, the updating of the SCADA, keeping that up to date and current, and that's what some of the operating costs, that's why you kind of see it increase over time. I think they've figured in, like, with the treatment plant, that's going to actually need operational maintenance that you'll have to have people come in and do certain things on. So like where does the GAC change out and stuff like that? Is that in the indirect or is that in the operating costs?
That would be either in your sort of your operating capital or in capital itself. And we don't, you mean like?
Well, no. Not the building it, or I'm talking as we go forward in the operating costs. Have you factored
I have
in, the
not.
change out of GAC when it, or whatever material we use to take the PFAS out?
That's going to be in the operating cost.
Thank you. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. What is actually in the indirect costs?
The
Is
indirect
that
costs
like-
are your healthcare and reimbursement.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's what, so
That's the town charges us.
right.
no, yeah, but that your salaries, your health care, and all that sort of stuff. We've
Yes.
talked about with the treatment, we're going to need 2 additional people. So, and then our, is like the energy we use, is that in operating or indirect?
I think it's
That's an
operating.
All right,
Yeah,
so
you guys-
I just want to make sure I'm not making any assumptions. So that's why our operating costs scale up over time, because the energy, it costs us more, but we're also going to be using it more because as much as we've tried to reduce the energy impact, the plant's engineered so that the wells are going to push the water through the filtration, if I'm right, Lou, and we're not going to have additional high heads pushing it through. That it basically stops us from doubling our energy consumption. I don't see any other way around it. If someone else could tell me how to do it, I'm more than happy to.
Well, I will say that we went from 15 to 5 this year.
No, I know, and I think, I respectfully think we'll see. I don't think I agree with Dave on the 45 to 50% principal forgiveness or whatever it comes out at. So I'm hopeful that those numbers are going to be single digits. I don't think any water utility can go. I mean, you might be able to go a year or 2 without raising rates, but given the fluctuation in chemical costs, in your operating costs from energy to whatever the heck else you want to think of, I never want to see this community ever go through a 25% rate increase ever again. You can plan for a 2%, a 5%. 25% was god awful. It had to be done, and I got that. But the impact was, I knew what it was going to be. There was no way around it because we have, unfortunately, PFAS. That's not going away. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm someone that's not shied away from doing the hard work or doing the hard fight. But that one, I don't ever want to see anyone ever have to do that again. I mean, everyone here pretty much heard it, except Lou and Mike.
Can I say something, Todd?
Most certainly, sir. I recognized Jazz Secretarian, Board of Selectmen liaison.
If we could just pull this up to the 20,000 foot level, I mean, you guys are being able to look at this at a much more granular way than it has been in the past. I agree with you that the 25% was a lot in one chunk, but the goal here is to be a little more fiscally responsible to know how you're going to be moving forward. And Mike and Lou have presented some numbers that to me look much better than the last time they put the numbers in.
Yeah.
It means that you guys you as commissioners are doing what you're supposed to do by minding the pennies per se, to be able to have a better idea of where you're going forward. We have a major project, a very expensive major water project here in town that we're going to have to do. And at some point, there is going to be a cost, and that, or, however you want to look at it. I think you guys you have the right approach. You're going about it in a much more logical and systematic way that you need to. As you go along with the help of Mike, you're able to kind of adjust some of the areas or all of the numbers that Nate was talking about, because there's a lot of variables in here. So keep it on kind of where you're at with the water area. There's other things that the town itself is working on to try to reduce costs to the, we're looking at, aggregating our electricity costs and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that each one of us are doing. If you guys keep that focus on where you're at right now, I think we'll be able to handle the future and what the needs will be for the water department.
I just don't, I just don't want people to think we're taking this lightly. And and that's part of the reason why we went and had this done and keep reviewing it, is so that the metrics can't be biased, because a non-biased third party is putting this together. Now,
Right.
They may be more conservative than other people and stuff like that, but that allows us, like, I think, Mike, what were we looking at for this year? 15% on the other model?
Yep, that was,
It was 15,
yeah,
12,
15,
12.
12, 12, and now it's 5, 10, 12.
So if you look at that, we've reduced this increase by 10%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again,
So, no,
Dave,
thank God whoever found that, can we give them like a gold friggin' star?
I picture it was in a barrel, like. Or
I'm not
so-
joking. That,
I know.
I don't know how. So,
I can tell you how we found it. When we applied for the loan for the engineering cost, Lock Lord said, "What about this loan? This money here?" And
they're
I
the
said,
auditors, the SRF auditors?
No, it was our financial consultant, Lock Lord, and they said, "What about this loan here that you have?" And I said, "What loan?" And
Well, it's not a loan. It was
not a loan. I mean,
an account.
it's in a money market in a CD, and they said, "What about this money? How come you're not using this at all?" And I said, "What money?" And then when I looked into it, somebody threw in an account 10 to 12 years ago and forgot about it.
Well, and who would know, as an accountant, MBTE, what is that? I don't know. Could be
Right.
School buses. Dave, did you
So-
just say that you had a loan for the engineering?
What was that?
You said you have a loan for the engineering?
Yeah, that's the 500 and we actually just put it in, which makes our budget at 18. But we're so good with it. 18, yeah, 18.4. You got to already have it in there.
I have 500,000 is rate funded for the PFAS design. in
That's because
23.
2000.
Right, you have that in there, but what's also brought everything up was the water lines that were been put in over the last few years on Main Street in West Meadow. So
Can you send me that offline? And,
I'm actually
for the-
showing 495,000.
Right, and then it probably shouldn't be escalated, but because that was a 21 cost year, but what kind of note is that, Dave, that you're funding that with?
Well, it was a ban. The ban expired, and we're finishing up the numbers. But I'll send you the numbers, and we'll put it
Okay.
in. But that'll be for next year's.
Okay,
But it's included in the 1084, and it's in the budget. Yeah, the $1,804,000, it's all in there under one of the line items. But we paid a lot of it down under free cash, so we could keep the budget down.
okay.
Well, if the
Right.
rate increases aren't right, we'll know about it,
Yeah.
because the water department will have an exorbitant amount of money and the projects that whatever needs to be done, there'll just be extra money and we won't increase rates.
Right.
So,
Well, I guess
like Chaz says, this is
no. Go ahead. You were on to something.
I thank you, Chaz, by the way. That's why we hired someone, because there are so many variables and you guys do this.
I would not want to even, and a lot of the times I've seen it done, Nate, and they only look at revenue year over year, and they don't really factor in the capital plan. They don't figure in the indirect cost, the debt. Well, they might figure in the debt, but a lot of times they only look at revenue year over year. It's if you're doing it in-house, so to speak. And it's that's why I appreciate the rate review by someone like Ty and Bond, because it looks into stuff that you and I don't have time. I don't know if the staff would have time to go to the in-depth that we did. I would say you're right about looking at where we end up after the next increase, but I mean, we only ended up with a surplus of roughly 80,000 with a 25% increase.
Actually, that is from the year before.
Oh, the year before. Okay.
So-
That was the close of 22.
So we
22.
still have one more quarter for this time, and we won't know the surplus till November of this coming year.
All right.
There will be a surplus,
Okay.
and it'll be a number. The surplus will be inflated because of the drought.
Yep.
So
Well, and-
you can't really go by that number, but
You're going to say something, Mike?
I was just going to say, I know Dave well enough that if there's a surplus, he's going to put it to good use.
No,
what
that's
we've done
not.
in the past.
That's never it. But I also don't want to look like we're trying to. And I know you're supposed to end up with a certain percentage
right.
as a surplus or quote unquote free cash, but I would like to keep that within a certain range so
Sure.
that it, like Nate says, we're not being exorbitant in that area of it.
Well,
You know what I
see,
mean?
But the challenge is if you have a big increase coming, and if I'm still sharing this, you don't need it necessarily right away, but then you have a really big increase coming in the future. So we'll often do that where you're spending down, you have a high degree of retained earnings, but you're spending it down or splitting out that increase so that it's not a 60% increase in the future. You're taking bites out of it to get there. So
That I get.
well, let me put it this way: the summer before was extremely wet.
Yep.
That showed up on our surplus that it was way down.
right.
And this year it's going to be inflated because we had a record drought. So you have to
No,
play every year. If
No, I
there's-
know. You're right. It's hard to compare year to year unless they're exactly the same
Right.
weather-wise or usage-wise. So, well,
One year at a time.
no, I got that. Nate, you got anything you want to add?
I don't.
Chaz, as Board of Selectmen liaison, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think you guys are doing exactly what you need to do and being fiscally responsible. When
All
there
right.
needs to be changes, you make the changes.
So, Nate, do I have a motion? You want me to make it?
No.
Good
No.
enough.
How far do you want to look at this? I'm thinking.
Just
One
this
year.
year, just this coming year.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
That's what we said from the beginning, Nate, is we were going to take this year by year, and each year would dictate what we do.
I think. Oh yeah, you might have talked about that the prior year, but I wasn't here.
Correct.
so-
He wasn't here.
And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that.
Okay, so fiscal year 2023.
No.
The rate increase
2024.
begins March 1st, 2023.
All right.
Okay, I move that we adopt the plan for the tiered rate structure as proposed by Ty and Bond for fiscal year 2023.
With a 5% increase.
If I may,
What? Yes.
Chair, I would say that the motion would be to raise our rates by 5% for FY '24.
Beginning March 1st, 2023.
Yeah. But just to be clear, because you already
Okay.
have the tier rates, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mattel, I just want to make sure we're clear.
Uh-huh. So really, the 5% is applied at the start of 20, or the you're saying March of
March 1st,
2023.
2023, which is the first billing, which is July 1st, 2023, which
okay.
puts it another quarter.
So you start the usage period, you don't change the cost until, you don't want to change it after they start using water, so you March, April, May, June, then July, they get that bill. So they know about the rate increase when they start that last reading, or the first bill in July is based on 3 months.
Prior.
Yeah.
Todd, why don't you go ahead and make this one?
Okay. I make a motion that the Townsend Water Department increase its rate structure by 5% to start March 1st, 2023, to come due for the first billing of FY 2024.
Perfect.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for, Nate. I think we should present this at the Board of Selectmen's meeting so that they understand what we've done. Mike and Lou, would you be, if we were able to set that up, would you be available again to be able to explain a lot of this?
Barring any conflict, sure.
Chaz, do you think, was that something that you guys would appreciate, or is that redundant?
No, I think it is. I personally would appreciate it. I can't speak for the board, but I think this is how it starts getting out in that we are discussing this, and this is something that had happened.
Okay, good.
I would like to also add that in the April billing that we supply each customer with a separate notice to let them know that the rates will be effective July 1st.
But can we word it differently
Well,
than
worded, yes.
just say that it'll be applied in that
To the
July
July 1st
billing?
bill.
Because if you say effective, it means a lot of people think it starts July and going forward, and they think you're being disingenuous.
Correct.
So just
So
make
I
sure.
will make it bigger, like the billing period between March 1st to June, whatever it is.
Or just say the first billing cycle of the year starts FY 24, but it takes into account the prior 3 months, just so they understand that.
Right.
Because I've seen that bite people in the butt more times than not by saying effective July 1st, but yeah, the July 1st billing, but they don't realize that it was the prior 3 months.
But I
So-
also want to make sure that this time they have a separate notice rather than just
No,
throwing it on
I
the
think
bill.
I think the separate notice is an outstanding idea. I just,
Well, last year we did a separate notice, but it was in the envelope for the April bill.
you want to do a separate mailing for it, Dave?
No, it's too much cost.
No.
That's thousands of dollars.
All right.
It'll be in the same envelope with the bill as the
All right.
separate notice, and we'll use colored paper.
What if we don't get paper bills?
Does everyone get a paper bill or do
Everyone
they get
gets a paper
electronic?
bill. Everyone
Everyone gets a paper bill.
Okay.
I've sworn my fiance did something where she said, "Oh, let's opt out of the paper."
Right, but you still
I don't
get a
think you
bill
can
mailed
right
to your
now.
house.
You can't. You can't
You
right now. I
can
don't-
pay, you can pay electronically, you just don't,
I'll check in on that. Make sure that
And I
Me
would,
too.
if.
I swear I haven't seen a water bill in like a year.
You might be paying Fitchburg water bills. You don't know that.
Hmm.
I don't know how
Yeah,
that's
not
possible.
bloody likely.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I will ask the chair, our liaison, not the chair, excuse me. My brain's fried. If you could, come up with
which meeting?
which
Yeah.
meeting for the Board of Selectmen, it would be appreciated.
Do you want it in February? One of the ones in February?
Sure.
Okay.
Just not in the same week of our water commissioner meeting.
Okay.
Why not? Just not the same day.
Yeah,
Oh, unless zooming in twice a week is difficult for you. I don't know.
no, it's this, I'll take it offline with you. There's some personal stuff that goes on that I need to take care of, that if I have more than one
Say
meeting.
say no more.
Thanks. Well, all right. Ha, my other computer died. All right. I can't. Can you unshare Mike, please? Or so we can get out of here, out of this part of it.
Yep.
Brenda,
Stop share.
there we go. Now, let's see if I can get the other thing opened because my computer crashed.
You need us for more?
I don't think there's nothing else on the agenda for you guys, I don't believe. Unless you live in Townsend, and can I ask you to come to town meetings? But
Unfortunately, I don't.
no, I know.
No.
Anyways, thank you guys so much, and we'll let you, when we get a date, you'll be the first to know after us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good night. Yep.
All right. This is the right thing. So we got done the rates.
Oh, the Tie and Bond has done projects for us before, correct?
They did Main Street.
Before that, I think it was it Stantec, Dave?
I don't know. I wasn't here.
But yeah, they've been the
I know
engineer.
they've done a lot of services for us.
Yeah,
So technically, you can't say that they don't have skin in the game. The water department with money has money to spend on projects. But I'm not insinuating that's what's going on.
no, I know.
It was said that they
No, I said it.
non-biased, but
Correct.
you never know. I like to think the best of everyone.
No, I know. I will say that they are known in this avenue as being some of the best on rates but
It will
Great
come
rates.
out. It'll all come out in the wash.
it will.
And
You
like
you
the
are right to a certain
seasons,
degree. They're not.
You never tell.
Yeah. So all right.
Budget.
Budget. So were you able to you said last time you said you were having trouble budgeting the salaries. Has that been, were you able
Yeah,
to?
no, we're fine. Yeah,
All right.
as long as you read everything.
Yes.
But everything's in there. Everything's complete. Basically,
Can I ask a question? I just
Sure.
want to know how we are with the union and your has the union been responsive to what we were asking and stuff like that?
Right now, they're doing basically their rate study for surrounding towns to get the correct rate for water workers. And I know they're going to want to split off from the highway, which is, but that's all in the works.
All right.
But right now, there's nothing going to be done anytime soon, but
All
it's
right.
in the works.
All right.
But, it's one of those things. It's a water union. I'm not in it. You're not in it. And so until they come up with a proposal, it's what it is, right?
Yep. All right. So where is
Yeah, do we have this budget?
yeah, it's one page is turned sideways, I think.
Oh, yeah, it was sent separately. Okay, so what you do is you save that, and then if you you open, it'll actually open it up as a PDF.
That one that's sideways isn't in the budget. It's what the water department owes. You'll see in the green that there's, I'll show you in one of the line items, that one of the debt, which is I think for Warren Road, ends in 2026. And then Shirley Road ends in 2027.
So
Those
this
come off the
is
books.
6.1, unless this is relevant to the.
Well, it's part of the budget, but
So do
he
we
mentioned
have-
that he mentioned that, but the budget's in with the rate study, and but there's 3 pages, and one's the expenses, which is, and then the next page is the salaries. And
Is this in our meeting packet? I'm trying to follow
Yes.
along. I don't. We go from
No, it's so on the rate study.
3.1 to 6.1.
it's right behind the rate study.
So it's right behind the rate study or it's part of the rate study?
It should be right with it, right back to back.
I'm not seeing it unless it's labeled
It looks like
6.1
that. It looks like this.
with red. The second
Yeah.
last column is red.
Right.
I'm not seeing it.
I'm not either.
I know it's in there because.
Oh, here we go. Scroll down at 6.3. Way down.
All right. Thank you.
Budget worksheet.
Right.
Okay.
6.1. 2.
So we can wait till
There
then.
it is. All right. So personal services, expenses. All right.
So for the operational staff that went up, because that includes.
2 new persons. Yeah.
Correct. Now, we don't want to bring them both in at the same time. And there's a class that begins in April. And we've already got it budgeted to hire around April 1st, the end of March. So I want to bring that person on, get them through class, get them settled, and then worry about the next person after that. And then we'll know in June the schedule from the contractor. And if we can hold off a little bit, we'll save a little bit of money.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm looking at energy costs, which is we're seeing a 4.35% gain. That one, you might want to reflect exactly what.
What line is
I
that,
put
Nate?
extra money in it last year.
That is the second page of
Okay. Yep,
spreadsheet.
I got it.
First line item. Now, I know that natural gas, I would just go look at the electricity And then I believe the usage is going to increase too.
Right, but
So-
what I did is I put more money in it the year before, and I only needed a little bit more.
Oh, are you carrying about
Yeah,
no,
we're
but what,
surplus?
we're
what
good
he-
from the year before.
what he
And
did
we
the
had
year
extra.
before was it was a significant increase the year before for FY 2023.
Okay.
And so that's why he's only increasing it the 4.4% this year. If that's the differential.
You got that. That's the perfect way of explaining it.
I'm seeing some of these numbers double, but there's no percent increase listed.
Which one?
Emergency repairs. Account number 6104000543500000000.
Yeah, I don't know why you did that, but it's emergency repairs is like what we did on Highland Road, and
Okay.
so when
Is it is this something, is that like a Excel error, or is this something that
yeah,
needs-
that's an Excel error.
so you're confident that this is exactly, there's no other mistakes?
Right.
Okay.
So there's only a few things that, like repair and maintenance of buildings. Like I changed the roof on Cross Street. I changed the roof on. I fixed the slate roof on Main Street. I have to change a bunch of roofs on things because nothing's been taken. Things haven't been taken care of the way they should, and so it's all that maintenance. It's not just the buildings. It's paving. The road entrance ways or whatever needs to be done on the buildings. In this case, it could be any equipment inside the building also. It's just not, it wasn't enough to affect all the changes that should be made.
So what the total budget is $1,804,908.
Right,
And that includes the intermunicipal agreement amount of 310, correct?
right. So it went up a little bit. I think it was, and that's mainly for the new workers.
No, I got that. I'm just glad they ironed out the calculation, that's all.
Right.
Did you solve that last year, Todd?
Yeah, we finally did.
Okay,
Terry did.
yeah.
I gotta commend Terry Walsh did a lot of the footwork on that when she was working at town hall. And they got the correct calculations in place. And
Good.
she did a lot of the Lions work, and she's a town resident, and I just want to make sure everybody in town knows that, that was a lot of hard work and under some trying circumstances, and she got it done. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Do I have a motion, Nate, or do you have any more questions?
I'm still looking at this.
Good enough.
If you look at the end for the debt, I actually put like ends in 2026, 27. And where it says Main Street Water Main and PFAS Engineering.
At the end?
Yeah, at the end of that expense worksheet. 6104000820, 5920. You'll see like the debt service, interest, borrowing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that 75,000 wasn't there last year, but the ban runs out in April, and so that Main Street and all those other things come due then. So that's where you see it goes from 0 to 75. So most of that section, that increase comes from that. Paying off, starting to paying off Main Street. And the engineering costs for the PFOS.
I'm showing a couple more numbers. I'm showing 100% increases, but the numbers aren't changing. Why is that? This is under staff.
Which,
So
what is
like,
it?
office. Oh, it's a new position. That's why.
Right.
Okay. It says current,
No, I know. All
and then that's what confused me. Okay.
right.
But it was unfunding. I created the position, but it was unfunded last year.
Right. So you're now including a clothing allowance for Brenda and
They're in the union. Now, I have to budget for that amount, but there's very strict restrictions on what
Right.
you can buy. Like, it's for protective clothing and stuff like that. They're never going to spend it, but I'm obligated to budget it.
I've never spent a dime.
Right.
okay.
But-
I think I understand. I don't need to agree with it, but
But it goes right back into free cash at the end of the year.
no,
But because it's a union position and the union says I have to do it,
Yep.
I have to budget it.
everybody has a say. Everybody said you have to do this, you have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But it goes back to free cash anyways, what we don't spend. And that gets, it comes back around. So
Okay.
it's just something I have to put in the budget regardless.
I'm gonna make a motion to accept this. I don't want to say as submitted because I'm seeing I did catch one error. If it was just erased, it would be better. Because it says you can see the numbers in black and red, and then the percent is different. So it's like, well, what do you? Someone could say, "Oh, well, I meant that, or I meant this."
We'll take the percentage.
let's-
We can take the percentages out if you want.
Well, either that or make sure they're whatever percent you do have is correct, because not all of them have a percentile
Right.
value
I'm not-
added there. So that's fine.
Do you want to make a motion that it's dependent upon the corrections?
Upon the corrections, give this a once over and make sure that I didn't miss anything. But okay, I move that we accept the fiscal year 2024 budget with the corrections that were noted in the Board of Water Commissioners meeting on the 25th of January.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
One addendum to that. Do you want to put the total number or just leave it as the,
Well, you can put the total number of 1084 something. And because that's not going to change. And that's what's going to be put at the town meeting.
Okay, amend that to include the dollar amount of $1,804,908.
second? The amendment has been made and seconded. Roll call vote for the FY 2024 budget. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
All right. Budget is done. Now,
I hope I said that number right.
I think
4.1.
and so 4.1, I don't have any updates. Nate, do you have anything?
Yes, but no.
Good enough.
No, I have a comment I'll make after.
Good enough. Liaison, Board of Selectmen, do you have a update for us? You're muted.
Hard mute.
I know I stepped on something.
Do you have a foot pedal? That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Just in case.
They make
Um,
foot pedals to do that?
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
There he is.
Mm-hmm.
I could get a setup like you guys.
As far as last night's town meeting, I know that all of you guys were there, so we know it transpired. But I do believe that there were several water department articles that were on the special town meeting. I will review for you what the procedure is going to be going forward. According to what I know just from last night is that they're going to be adding that to the next one. I don't know if we need to amend articles or if you guys want to amend articles before it goes in, or if we're allowed to do that. I don't know how that works. So
So there'll be a special meeting before the annual town meeting on the same night.
correct.
We'll open it and close it.
Right. So we're not changing the current articles. We're going to add one to the annual town meeting, which I'll go over on 6.1.
Okay.
I mean, there may be some changes and all that kind of stuff, David.
Well, yours will change because you'll have snow and ice removal. That always gets put on the special.
Right,
But
we're
we'll
talking
have a
about-
special, and a special.
special. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Um,
For the water department, the ones that are being carried over can stay exactly where they are. Because that money can be spent right after the meeting. And
Okay.
then the annual town meeting only can be spent after July 1st.
okay. So if I need any clarification, Dave, I'll give you a call. But that if everything
Perfect.
kind of remain the same, I'm good with that too. So
Yeah.
we'll go with that. You guys just voted on your budget, which I think that's also coming up. So I'll be reviewing your guys' budget along with everybody else's when it comes along. But if I have any questions or anybody has any questions, I'll be getting in touch with Dave in regards to that as well. The last little piece is that I know that we have an election coming up, and we usually have a reorganization of the boards. I'm just throwing it out there after conversations that Todd and I have had. I'm going to see if I can keep the water department as one of my departments as liaison, just only because of the work that we've done, that I've helped you guys with, and you've helped me with the whole PFAS situation and everything. I feel like I'm going to abandon you guys in the next year because there's a lot of big things coming up.
It's a big project.
Yeah.
So we do need you.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that and just trying to get the next person up to speed to this on the and I guess that's the whole kit and caboodle is the timeframes on the SRF and the bids and everything else are tight. So is the construction. So trying to get, and not to disparage whoever it would be, but just trying to get the next person up to speed would be difficult.
Yeah, and I'm going to pitch to the board, that I want to keep you guys on as one of my boards.
Okay.
However the vote goes, but I just wanted to throw it out to you guys. That's what I'm kind of thinking of doing. And if you had any concerns, you can voice them to me offline if you don't mind.
Yeah. One question I have for you is, do you know if Eric took the grades for the OPM, and if there was a determination?
I believe he took the grades. We didn't have a conversation in regards to that. I was more concerned about some of the money stuff that we were doing for the town meetings on
Yeah.
what we're going to do, what we're moving forward. So I didn't really get in the nitty gritty with that. But I think as far as that is concerned, you guys are in good shape. So, we'll just leave it there, and I'll do what I can. If you guys need it, Dave will just let me know.
All right. All right. Are you done, sir?
Mhm.
Okay. 6.1, superintendent's update, or 6.6, superintendent's updates and reports. Dave, take it away with 6.1.
So we'll go for the PFOS. Did we get, from the last meeting, we got Witches Brook 2, which is at an 18.8.
So that's one testing. Have you sampled was that for January or December?
That's for January.
So you take in
No, so that was for December. So January has already been taken, so it'll be a week or two.
when did you take it, Dave?
About a week and a half ago.
All right, so you're looking
End of the month, or the end of the month. So we'll see what it is. It's just that it's lucky we included it in the project but with the water line going in June, it'll give us the ability to blend.
yeah.
And that's why I wanted the water line in to begin with. And so there's a backup plan in case it goes over that we can blend with one. We just, but it's all taken care of. Harbor Trace, we just got the green light letter today from financial, because the SRF did the questionnaire and the money, and we already got the green light letter this morning for the go ahead for the funding.
Good.
Okay.
So that's for the 14.9. So the next important date is the 13th of February, which is the planning board. And I've already been told they're going to give it the go ahead for that. The 16th of February, the building goes out to bid to open on the 6th of April, because you give 3 weeks for the subcontractors to give the numbers. And then the net last 3 weeks of it, the contractors get the numbers. So it's a complicated process from the subcontractors. And then the water line goes out to bid on the 23rd of February to open on the 13th of April. Those two numbers will be added up and brought to town meeting if it's going to be over the 14.9. I'll tell you that right now. And they have to appropriate the additional funding.
And it just it's not that we're spending, or that it just gets tacked on to the SRF loan.
And the SRF has already gave the green light.
Okay.
But it's all dependent on the funding from the meeting.
Yep.
But the SRF has already given the okay with the additional funding. We're bringing that water line into Emory, because
Okay.
it's a no-brainer for them. It's redundancy, getting the water from a second waterway to the tanks and a more direct avenue to the Fitchburg tank.
Also, it's going to take the PFAS free water and get it out to the system. If you're going two ways, the PFAS that's in the system now gets out faster if you're going two ways.
Correct. So that's pretty much the building.
Yep.
And so the next one is the new hire, which we have it budgeted for April 1st. I just want to make sure you're okay with it. The class for the T1, which
Yep.
begins in April, I think the 6th or 7th. So I want to put the person we hire in that. So we put it out in February to the town, because it has to clear the town first before it goes out to the public.
You mean the advertisement for the position needs to go in town,
In town
and then if no one takes it in town,
for 7 days.
okay.
So there's a process, and I figure it's going to take six weeks to see if we can get someone. But there's a lot of interest. There's some high school kids that are looking for jobs. Of course, we want to hire in town first if we can.
Well, there's a policy for that.
There's a policy, right?
So I'm good with that. When you get ready, I don't know about Nate. I'd like, at least before you start interviewing them, I'd like to see what they put forward for a resume so we can see what you're looking at.
Well, I'll email you whatever resumes come in.
All right.
How's
I
that?
appreciate it. Thank you. Yes.
All right. So if you make any comment from what we see,
Yep.
so
Dave, have you reached out to the high school guidance counselor?
I have.
All right.
They're just waiting.
What about Neshoba Tech?
I have a relationship with them too.
All right, good enough. Just want to make sure.
Neshoba Tech, Northern Middlesex, and
Monty Tech?
Monty Tech.
Okay.
Good.
And I've already reached out with, there's actually a youth program for the Department of Labor.
There's a job thing that works out. It's the Kennedy Center, I think.
In Leominster. I've
No,
already
well, there's
talked to
also
them
one
too.
at Devon's, Dave, too.
Yeah.
I think. Isn't there like a Kennedy jobs thing at Devon's,
I
Chaz?
called the people in Leominster. They have a youth program
Yeah.
and
Is that
they're hiring.
through Mass Hire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
That's
I've
a good
already
program.
done all that. I've done my research.
Okay.
And you know, and we'll put it on Facebook and everything else. And it's just, we'll cover all the avenues. And hopefully if somebody from Townsend comes in who's qualified and wants to work, you know, there's the policy in place for that.
Yep.
So then 6.3 is the budget we've already been through. The generators, we're just waiting for, it's already been green lighted for that person. I think that's also in the, who won it is in your package. There's so many things going on. It's in your package who got awarded the contract.
Dave, quick question on that.
Ewing Electric.
What?
Ewing Electric won the generator, and they're going to, we're looking for timeframes. It all depends.
Right, that's okay.
So we won't know that
locations?
until they actually order the generator.
Okay. So you need Nate and I to, nope, that's something else.
When we get the contract, I think that has to go to the selectmen.
Do we sign it and then they sign it, or is it
No.
just them?
That has to be signed by the selectmen.
All right.
Is that for both locations, Dave?
Right now, we're only going to do Main Street. We already did the engineering for both.
Yeah.
But where our costs are way too much for both locations. Main Street does 4 or 5 times as much water as Cross Street, so we're concentrating on Main Street right now.
Okay.
All right.
And
Do you
we'll
want
worry
us
about
there to
the-
present that when you're have the contracts? Do you want us there, Chaz?
That's your call if you want to do it.
Well,
As soon as I get the contract, I'm going to give it to Eric to put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, and Eric would present it to the board at that point if you wanted him to do it.
Okay. All right.
It's already been funded.
Approved. Yeah, it's already funded.
We've already funded it, so
Yeah.
I think it's more of a, yeah,
Signing
Yeah,
the contract.
It's we're not asking for approval. It's already,
it's a done deal.
yeah.
Right.
All right.
But the only one that can sign it is the selectman.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Okay. So, okay, we have 7.1 is DCAM. Brenda, did they ever show up?
No, they weren't scheduled to show up. It was just something that they asked if you would prefer them to just automatically
Will it say, let's put it this way. Will it save you time in the,
Yes,
so what they do right now is they take the YouTube video, upload it, and then they give it to TCAM to put on the,
yes.
on
And this would be a
the government
direct,
channel.
correct. And this will be a direct thing. They'll just tape it and put it on. I mean, we'll
What happens
still
when we start-
record it for our
I guess-
own purposes.
I guess my question is, what happens when we start having in-person meetings in March? Will they show up?
Well,
and-
then we have the Zoom room. So I'm thinking they can tape it from the Zoom room. We've just had that put in Wednesday. So
Okay.
that's going to be controlling the huge TV so we can have a hybrid meeting with residents
Okay.
in town. And then
Okay.
they can tape it from that area. So,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, we set up the room for Zoom. To
Okay.
record.
Does that need a vote?
No, you know what,
As long as you're in agreement with it, that's fine. I just wanted to let you know.
it doesn't need a vote because when you put it on Zoom, it's public.
No, I know. So we're already public, so it's just, if it's, my thing is, if it's gonna save the staff some time and some effort, they've got enough on the plate. I don't have a problem with it. Nate, do you?
No.
Okay.
I don't either.
It'll also give you an option to do it live too. Just throwing it out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
All right.
Now, when they tape it, Chaz, do you know, do they tape it from the very beginning or from the beginning of the meeting? So, you know, sometimes you guys like to talk a little bit prior to the meeting.
No, they will. You let them know when you want them to start it, and then they'll tape it.
All
So
right.
you'll hear that woman that says recording started just like that, and then you know.
All right.
Which
Yeah.
I'm on my home computer tonight and it froze on me. So luckily I remembered that I had a touch screen and I could touch it because my mouse
No,
wouldn't work.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Schedule next Board of Water Commissioners meeting.
Oh, I had that. So the 20th is President's Day. So that's Monday is out.
What do you have going on in February, Nate? Anything?
What dates are we looking at?
Well, the 13th is the Monday.
Fine with me.
The 13th.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, Todd?
I'm thinking.
Okay. I mean, we can do it the 6th, but it's literally around the
No, that's too, I mean, that's,
next. It's really like next week almost. Well, 2 weeks.
yeah, 13th's fine.
Okay. All right. And like I said, that gentleman from Bayberry will probably want to be on that meeting. I'll try and get you as much information about that as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And
This is that's the individual we couldn't get at the first meeting, and then
Yeah, he's
There was a
backed
couple
out
of them,
3
right?
consecutive meetings.
Right, he's backed out.
I get it.
This is the
Well, the
third meeting
first
he's
one-
backed out on.
people get busy.
the first one, he didn't know. Well, he didn't know until the very end, and he didn't have enough time to go to it. He had to work. And the second one, it didn't happen. So then this one, he couldn't make it. I don't know if he plows or whatever, but it's a storm, so I didn't ask any questions.
No, that's all right.
And then, you know, so he said, could I be put on the February one? And, you know,
Yep.
everyone has a right, so absolutely.
Yep.
And, so if you want to close out and do, you know, do that.
Well, we got to
Someone
make
comes
one
in.
motion
Right.
to,
Yeah, and then stuff. Sounds good.
well, the review and sign monthly
Right.
reports and
Correct.
out of session.
And do you have to you're gonna sign the budget?
Well, when they come in,
No,
and you
no,
fix
no, no.
that,
We already voted
Brenda?
to sign
Brenda?
that upon.
It needs to be corrected first, but once it's corrected, we will sign it.
correct.
Okay, right, can you
Yes.
put that on that line, that you're
So-
gonna also sign the budget?
All right.
Instead-
And that's right. And so what they do is when they come in to sign the warrants, whoever comes in that week to sign the warrants, I have them sign all the end of the month reports and the minutes.
That-
and everything with
That
So I have a
needs
thing.
both signatures.
The budget needs both signatures.
Okay, so I will arrange it for both of you.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we review and sign end of month reports and bill payable warrants and budget out of session.
Second, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Nope. Roll call vote, Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, I
that-
move we adjourn the Water Commissioners meeting.
second. Motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.